They buried their mother for money. But 3 years later she came back, not for revenge but for justice. In the small Nigerian town of Umuaka, people believed the mango tree behind Mama Ebel's house had a spirit. It bore fruit even during dry seasons, its branches heavy and golden like the sun itself. Some said it was blessed. Others said it was cursed. But for Mama Ebel's children, Ao and Nena, the tree meant something else entirely: inheritance. Mama Ebel was not a rich woman, but she was clever. A widow for nearly 2 decades, she owned the largest farmland in the village. Fertile, untouched land that men with power and politicians had tried to buy for years. She always said, "Land is life. When you sell it, you sell your roots." Ao, her only son, didn't believe in such old sayings. He believed in fast money, in Lagos deals, and in cars that could make heads turn. His wife, Nena, was worse. Beautiful, ambitious, and ruthless in ways that even Ao couldn't predict. Together, they dreamed of leaving Umuaka behind and starting a life of luxury in Abuja. But there was one problem. Mama Ebel refused to sell the land. One humid evening, while thunder rumbled far away, Ao and Nena sat outside on their veranda. The smell of roasted yam filled the air, but both were too tense to eat. "She'll never change her mind," Ao muttered, running a hand through his hair. "Even after I told her about my debts," she said. "God will provide." "God?" Nena laughed bitterly. "God doesn't pay debts, Ao. Men do. And men die when they don't." Her tone was sharp like the edge of a blade. Ao looked at her fine braids, her piercing eyes, and for a moment, he feared her more than he feared the debt collectors waiting in the city. "What do you want me to do?" he asked softly. Nena leaned forward. "We both know what needs to be done. That land is our future. Your mother is standing in our way." Her words hung heavy in the air. The thunder grew closer. Over the next few weeks, whispers began to float around the village. Ao visiting a herbalist near the river, Nena going to Onitsha to buy certain things. But no one paid much attention. People in Umuaka kept their curiosity close and their silence closer. Then, one Sunday evening when the village was returning from church, a scream tore through the air. It was Ao. Neighbors rushed to the house. Mama Ebel was lying motionless on the floor, her eyes wide open, her mouth slightly curved, as if caught between pain and disbelief. She collapsed," Ao stammered, tears streaming down his face. "We were talking and she just fell." The villagers cried, prayed, and comforted him. The priest came and performed last rites. No one questioned much. She was old after all. People die. Life goes on. 2 days later, they buried her beneath the mango tree, just as she had once wished. But what no one knew was that Mama Ebel hadn't died from sickness or age. She had died from the bitter taste of poison in her evening tea. Tea served lovingly by her daughter-in-law, Nena. After the burial, everything changed quickly. Ao and Nena sold the farmland within months, pocketing millions. They moved to Lagos, bought a mansion in Lekki, and began a business that grew faster than they could imagine. A luxury real estate company called Ebel Estates, named ironically after the very woman they killed. Their faces appeared in newspapers, smiling beside powerful politicians. They wore matching gold watches and drove imported cars. In public, they were the picture of success, a couple blessed by destiny. But in private, the past refused to stay buried. At night, Nena began hearing sounds, soft footsteps near their gate, the faint rustle of a wrapper dragging across marble floors, and the whisper of a woman's voice singing an old lullaby. First she dismissed it. "It's just my mind," she told herself. "Guilt is a small price for fortune." But then the hibiscus flowers began to appear. Mama Ebel had loved white hibiscus. She grew them in clay pots behind her kitchen, tending to them every morning before sunrise. "They remind me of peace," she used to say. Now, every dawn, one perfect white hibiscus was found placed carefully at Ao and Nena's mansion gate. Fresh, dewy, and pure. The first time Nena thought it was a prank. The second time she felt uneasy. By the third morning she couldn't sleep. One night she waited by the window watching. At exactly 3:07 a.m., the automatic gate light flickered. A figure appeared, a woman wrapped in a faded wrapper, her head tied in a scarf. She moved slowly, almost gliding, and placed a flower at the gate before vanishing into the darkness. Nena screamed. Ao rushed in half asleep. "What happened?" She pointed, trembling. "Your mother, she's here." Ao ran outside, but there was nothing, only the flower glistening with dew under the moonlight. Ao tried to stay rational. He told himself ghosts weren't real. He had built an empire, after all, a man of logic and business. But soon the strange things started happening to him too. Documents would go missing. His office door would creak open by itself. Clients would cancel meetings at the last minute, saying they had bad dreams about him. One night, while going through his laptop, he opened a file labeled Ebel Estates Financials. Inside was a single sentence. "Land is life. You buried your roots." He stared, his heart pounding. Who wrote that? He called Nena, but her phone was off. He drove home in a panic. When he arrived, he found her sitting on the floor of their bedroom, surrounded by broken glass and torn photographs of Mama Ebel. "She's not gone, Ao," Nena screamed. "She's punishing us. I saw her again, in the mirror," she said. "The mango tree remembers." Ao knelt beside her, his mind spinning. The mango tree. That cursed, sacred tree under which they had buried their crime. Desperate for peace, Ao returned to the village alone. The journey was long and heavy with silence. When he arrived, the mango tree stood tall as ever, greener, fuller, and strangely vibrant. Beneath it, the ground looked untouched, as if the earth had healed itself perfectly. But when Ao placed his hand on the soil, a sharp wind blew through the branches, whispering like a voice. "You took my life for land. Now the land will take yours." He stumbled back, his skin crawling. He went to the village priest, Father Chukwamika, an old man who had known his mother well. When Ao confessed everything, the poisoning, the burial, the greed, the priest was silent for a long time. Then he said, "Evil buried is never gone, my son. It only waits." Father Chukwamika instructed Ao to perform cleansing rituals, to confess publicly, and to return everything he gained through deceit. But Ao refused. "If I speak, I lose everything," he shouted. The priest looked at him sadly. "You already have." While Ao was in the village, Nena's condition worsened. She began to talk to unseen people, cooking food for Mama every morning, leaving portions of rice near the window. Their house staff resigned one after another, claiming they heard crying at night. One evening, Ao returned from Umuoka and found Nena sitting on the veranda, humming softly. On her lap was a hibiscus flower. "I spoke to her," she said, smiling faintly. "She said she forgives us. But she wants something back." "What?" Ao asked nervously. "The land." Ao froze. "That's impossible. It's been sold." Nena turned to him, her eyes dark and distant. "Then she will take something else." Within weeks, their business collapsed. A major deal with a senator fell apart. Investors pulled out mysteriously. Their bank accounts were hacked, draining millions overnight. Ao thought it was sabotage, until he realized the hacker's email address was eerily familiar. It contained the word Ebel. He tried to trace it, but the source led nowhere. Meanwhile, Nena stopped leaving the house. She would sit by the window talking to the air, saying things like, "Yes, Mama, he will return it soon. Don't be angry." Then one night she vanished. The security guard said they saw her walk toward the gate barefoot, holding a candle and a single white flower. She never came back. The next morning, her body was found miles away, near a riverbank, the same river where Ao had once gone to meet the herbalist. Her eyes were open, her face peaceful, her hands clutching a hibiscus flower. At the funeral, rain poured heavily. Few people attended. Ao stood alone, drenched, staring at her coffin. When the priest finished, Ao whispered, "It's over now." But it wasn't. That night, as he sat in his empty mansion, lightning flashed, and for a moment he saw her. Not Nena. Mama Ebel. Standing at the top of the staircase, wearing her old wrapper, holding a basket of mangoes. "You buried me," she said softly. "But I am the root. And the root always returns." The lights went out. Oh screamed. And in the darkness, the faint scent of hibiscus filled the air. The mansion felt heavier after Nena's death. Even in silence, the walls whispered. Ao stopped sleeping upstairs. He moved into the living room, keeping the lights on all night. He had sold 3 of their luxury cars and fired all the staff. No one stayed longer than a week. Every night, something strange happened. Faucets turning on by themselves, the television flickering, and the soft smell of ripe mangoes filling the air though none were in the house. But the worst was the sound, that slow, deliberate knock at the gate. Always at 3:07 a.m. Always 3 knocks. And each morning, a white hibiscus lay waiting. Rumors spread quickly across Umuoka. The villagers whispered that the spirit of Mama Ebel had risen, not to haunt, but to restore balance. Some said her ghost had been seen near the mango tree. Others said they heard her voice calling Ao's name in the wind. Old women shook their heads in pity. "The spirit of a mother is patient but not blind," they said. "A curse doesn't start in one day. It grows with every lie." Father Chukwemeka received a letter one morning. The handwriting was messy, desperate. It was from Ao. "Father, please. See her. Hear her. She won't leave me. Tell me what to do before I lose my mind." The priest sighed. "You already have my son," he murmured. Still he went to Lagos. When the priest arrived, he found Ao unshaven, trembling, and surrounded by torn pages of old account books. "Father, she's here," Ao whispered. "She's everywhere. She touches things. She moves my mother's photos. She calls my name. I can't eat, can't sleep." "Your mother's spirit is restless," said the priest. "Until you tell the truth, all of it, you will never know peace." Ao knelt before him. "I did it, Father. I killed her. We both did. I thought she'd never know. But now she's watching me. She took my wife, my company, my life. What more does she want?" The priest looked at him with sorrow. "A mother's soul doesn't seek destruction, Ao. It seeks justice." He instructed Ao to return to Umuoka, dig up the mango tree, and perform a cleansing ritual with the villagers present. Only truth could end what guilt had begun. Ao hesitated, but when he woke up that night and found white hibiscus petals scattered across his bed, he packed his bag and left. The road back home was long, winding, and eerily quiet. Ao drove through misty dawns and sleepless nights until the familiar sight of the mango tree appeared on the horizon. It looked different now. Older, thicker, almost alive. Its branches reached out like arms, and the air around it felt charged. As he approached, he noticed something strange. A small mound of freshly turned soil near its roots. Someone had been there recently. Ao's heart pounded. "Who dug here?" he asked the ground, as if expecting an answer. Then he heard it, the soft sound of humming. Lullaby. His mother's lullaby. He froze. Turning slowly, he saw her standing behind him, not as a ghostly mist, but as flesh and blood. "Mama," he whispered. She smiled faintly. "You thought you buried me, Ao. But you only buried your mercy." He fell to his knees, shaking. How are you alive?" Mama Ebel stepped closer, her wrapper rustling like dry leaves. "Not alive," she said softly. "But not dead either. The land does not forget. It gave me back to finish what was started." In truth, Mama Ebel had not fully died that night 3 years ago. The poison was strong, but the village herbalist who often visited her had found her before her last breath and hidden her away. He had seen the greed in Ao's eyes, and the sorrow in hers. He took her to a remote hut deep in the forest, where she lay between life and death for months. When she recovered, she made one vow. "I will not curse them with words. I will curse them with truth." From then on, she lived quietly, gathering strength, watching from afar as her son's empire rose on stolen soil. The hibiscus flowers, the whispers, the signs, all of it had been her way of reminding him that justice was near. But when Nena died, Mama Ebel realized the curse had gone too far. The spirit of vengeance had grown stronger than her own forgiveness. Now she wanted only to end it, and reclaim what was rightfully hers. That evening, Father Chukwuemeka arrived at the tree. He was shocked to see Mama Ebel alive, frail but breathing, her face weathered with grief. "God is merciful indeed," he said. Together they called the villagers. Candles were lit. Drums echoed softly in the dusk. Ao stood before them, trembling. He confessed everything, every lie, every deception, every tear he caused. The crowd listened in stunned silence. When he finished, Mama Ebel stepped forward. "I carried you in my womb for 9 months," she said, her voice breaking. "Fed you with my hands. Prayed for your success. And this is what you gave me in return, poison." Ao fell to his knees, sobbing. "I'm sorry, Mama. I was blind. I thought money would make me free." She looked at him quietly. "Freedom bought with blood is only another kind of prison." The priest began to pray. The villagers joined, chanting, asking the land to release its anger. Then, as the last prayer ended, thunder cracked across the sky. The mango tree shook violently. Lightning struck its trunk, splitting it clean in half. Everyone screamed. When the smoke cleared, Mama Ebel and Ao were gone. For days the villagers searched. The tree stood burned and hollow, its roots steaming. Only 2 things were found beneath it: Ao's gold wristwatch and a single white hibiscus flower. Some said the ground swallowed them. Others believed they were taken to the spirit world, one for punishment, one for peace. Father Chukwuemeka simply said, "The land has claimed its own." Life in Umuoka slowly returned to normal. The farmland, once cursed by greed, began to bloom again. Villagers said the mango tree's ashes made the soil richer. One day, a young orphan girl playing near the old tree found a small wooden box buried in the earth. Inside was a note written in Mama Ebel's handwriting. "To whoever finds this, do not let greed blind your heart. I loved my children, but they forgot that love is the only true wealth. Tell this story to those who chase riches without roots, so they may remember that the land listens, and a mother's spirit never sleeps." The girl took the note to the priest, and he read it aloud in church that Sunday. Many wept. Others bowed their heads in shame. From that day on, no one in Umuoka sold their ancestral land again. 10 years passed. The land that once belonged to Mama Ebel was turned into a community farm that fed the entire village. One evening, a traveler from Lagos arrived. He wore simple clothes and walked with a limp. When he reached the old mango tree stump, he knelt and wept. Was Ao, older, thinner but alive. He had woken up miles away on the night of the storm, in a forest near the river. He remembered nothing except his mother's voice saying, "Start again." He had lived quietly since then, working as a laborer, nameless, guilt-ridden. But now he had returned to rebuild what he destroyed. The villagers forgave him, though some still feared him. He worked the land day and night, planting mango trees in memory of his mother. And every morning, he placed a white hibiscus at the foot of the new trees. One moonlit night, as Ao sat alone by the new grove, he heard footsteps, soft and slow. He turned, and there she was again, Mama Ebel. She looked radiant, glowing faintly in the moonlight. "You have done well, my son," she said gently. "You've returned what you took." Ao's eyes filled with tears. "Can you forgive me, Mama?" She smiled, touching his face. "Forgiveness is not for me to give, Ao. It's for you to live." Then, like smoke caught in the wind, she vanished. The next morning, the villagers found Ao lying peacefully under the largest mango tree. His eyes were closed, his hands clasped over his heart, and beside him lay a white hibiscus. Today, people in Umuoka tell this story to their children, about the couple who killed their mother for money, but whose greed brought them nothing but ruin. They say when the wind blows through the mango trees, you can still hear Mama Ebbel's voice whispering, "Land is life, love is wealth, and the earth always remembers."